Is it recording?
Only if you record it.
I just click.
Yeah, it's recording.
Yeah, recording. Okay, right. So I had this argument with my boss at the time, who hated me and I hated him, and he said we have to offer a guarantee. And I said, well, we can't. And he said, why not? I said, because it's a lie. You know, what you're asking me to guarantee, I know for a fact we're lucky if we can do it half the time. Never mind 99% of the time, we can't do it half the time. And he said, we have to because our competitors do. And I said, okay, so what do we do if somebody complains? He says, we give them the money back. I said, that sounds pretty pathetic. And he said, yes, but it will work. And I said, I think you're wrong. And he put another black mark in my appraisal and told me I was an idiot. And to my horror, he turned out to be right. Hardly anybody complained. Nobody, as far as I can remember, sued us for anything really bad. And we got away with it for about 2 or 3 years. And then we changed something. And suddenly we're a bit closer to the standard that was expected. We still weren't anywhere 90%, but it wasn't too bad. And given where we were, it was a huge improvement. So morally, it kind of looks wrong. The question is, are you harming anybody? And do people really believe you? And I think one of the cases that I might have shown you about 3 weeks ago was about the guy that was promised a MiG fighter if he collected all the coupons from some product. Did I show you that clip? I showed it to one class. I can't remember who it was, but basically he went to court and the judge said, you know, no reasonable person would actually really expect to get a Russian MiG fighter for collecting 50,000 bottle tops.
Pepsi points, right?
Pepsi points, yeah, that was it, Sandesh. Yeah. Did I show you that clip?
Yes, you did.
Okay, right. So, so what he said, it was unreasonable. Now, the other one that I got, which is slightly different, but still a lie. Do any of you use Pantene shampoo?
Used to.
Used to. Okay. I might have told you this one before as well, so stop me if I have. But when I was in Belgium, my boss was the ex-marketing director for Pantene Europe and Africa, and he wanted a kind of a strap line which said that, you know, Pantene was really good. So he sat down with the chemists and the marketing guys and the sales guys, and one of the marketing guys came up with a strap line: Pantene gives you healthy hair. Ariba, what's wrong with that? Pantene gives you healthy hair. Is that okay?
It's over promising, I guess.
Is your hair healthy? Is your hair alive or dead, Ariba?
Oh, it's dead. It's alive. It's alive.
It's dead. Your hair is
dead.
dead.
Okay.
So
dead, yeah.
It cannot be healthy because it's not alive. So it's obviously a biological lie. And what Ed said was, okay, we know it's a lie, you know, technically, but on the other hand, everybody knows what healthy hair means. It means it's, you know, shiny and glossy and no frayed ends and all the rest of it. So the conclusion was, although it was technically a lie, people weren't taking the phrase literally. So with a guarantee, write this down. With a guarantee, you've got an ethical question about whether you actually believe what you're saying. You've got the problem of measurement, or the service delivery standards. You know, so you need to be able to measure whether you're getting close to delivering what you should be doing or not. And you often find that differs between day of the week, the season, and the weather. So if you're British Airways, I was going to say Malaysian Airlines, but we don't have snow in Malaysia. But if you're British Airways and you guarantee 95% on-time arrival, write that down. Are you writing it down, Sandesh? On-time arrival. So if you guarantee 95% on-time arrival and there's heavy snow and fog, what do you think is going to happen to that standard? It's just gone.
Gone.
So you're probably talking about an average 95% arrival, which if you any sense as an operations manager, you will average over a year or a month or a quarter. If you've got problems with the winter, you want to do it over the entire year, because it's going to be the winter and the autumn when you have the problems with fog and snow. So there's a moral question. Then there's a question of what's the compensation? Is it literally just only a money back guarantee, which nearly all of them are? Or are you saying that you will complete the mission no matter what? So you need to distinguish between what kind of guarantee it actually is. And then the third one is the compensation. You know, to what extent are you prepared to compensate people? Like, Afra, did you find out which chapter it was in the textbook? Guarantees?
You wanted me to find out?
Yeah. Was it you I asked? I can't remember.
No, like, you didn't ask me to find. You said Afra chapter book guarantee. So I was like, okay, maybe a question.
No. Well, the question is, can you find out which chapter it's in? Now.
I'm finding it.
Okay. So, right. Can any of you think of any guarantees you've come across? For, I guess, in Food Panda and Grab delivery, if it doesn't arrive within 30 minutes, does the customer get their money back or a free pizza or whatever?
Domino's Pizza.
Domino's does that.
Yeah.
And IKEA has certain furniture that has like a 10-year guarantee on them.
Now, right. Now, that's a very good one. IKEA, yes. Great example. 10-year guarantee on what?
I got a 10-year guarantee on a rocking chair.
Yeah, but what does the guarantee say?
That if it's faulty or like breaks due to like natural circumstances, like the wood breaks down or something like that, then they will replace the furniture for me.
Right. Now, there've been some very, this isn't a funny story, this is horrific, it's really horrible. There have been a lot of cases, I think in the States, but maybe also in the UK, where IKEA furniture has killed small children. Anybody familiar with that?
No.
Right. What happens, and you all need to be aware of this if you ever have any kids, because I've discovered kids are particularly stupid. They love licking their fingers and sticking them in electrical sockets and stuff like that. But the problem comes with big, heavy bookcases, chests of drawers or cabinets or wardrobes that are top heavy and not secured into the floor. And what happens is little Johnny or whatever climbs up, age about 3 or 4, climbs up to the fourth drawer level, pulls it out, and then the whole structure then falls on him and kills him. This is pretty horrible. Apparently, it happens a lot. Nusrat, when I say it happens a lot, how many cases do you think I'm talking about? It happens a lot.
I think 40%.
Can't be 40%, Nusrat. If it was 40% of all American children got killed by IKEA furniture, they'd have invaded Sweden and nuked it by now. It can't be 40%. No. How many instances of death do you think, Nusrat? It's got to be a small number. It can't be very big.
Sorry, Michael, can you repeat the question?
How many American children, and I don't know the answer to this, somebody can look it up. Sandesh, can you look it up? How many American children get killed by falling furniture in a year?
I think probably 7 to 8.
Yeah, I suspect that sounds about right. Not that many. Now, if your 4-year-old child, Nusrat, gets, this is a bit of a horrible vision, but smashed to the ground and killed, and IKEA offers you a new cabinet, how happy are you? Not at all. No, you're going to be livid. But that's the sort of problem you have with guarantees. What are they guaranteeing you against? You know, the one thing that I found out, which I think is morally corrupt about Malaysian car insurance companies, is they do not insure you against floods. That's taken as being an extraordinary item. Now, in the UK, a flood would be an extraordinary item, but floods in Malaysia happen, all the time, and they're excluded. And the reason the insurance companies exclude them is it would cost them a lot of money. And I think that's bad. I don't know what you think. Sophia, what do you think about insurance companies excluding floods from their motor insurance?
You mean in the UK or?
No, not in Malaysia. They don't include it. You have to ask them for it. And if you don't ask, they don't tell you.
Because it's like natural disaster, so like.
Yeah, but we're not talking about
like
sort of nuclear war or sort of a hurricane. We're talking about something which happens
often.
Every, I think that's morally a bit questionable. Right, after you found the chapter, which one was it? The chapter number.
Michael.
Yeah?
In Google, it says from between 2000 to 2019, 451 children died because of falling furniture.
Chapter 7.
451 in 20 years.
Right, so that's about 20 a year, is that right?
Yeah.
Right, so Nusrat, you were pretty close there.
Michael, chapter 7.
Yeah, I got that. Okay, thanks. Right, how many presentations have we got to do tonight?
3.
3. And despite vigorous lobbying for various quarters, we're still saying 20 minutes each. Is that correct?
20 plus.
20 plus. Okay. Right. Okay. Let me just quickly show you chapter 7. Now, Afra asked about chapters you want to read. Chapter 7 is the one that talks about service guarantees, I think. Right, can you see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Oh yeah, service guarantees. Okay. So I think all of the stuff about complaints, the British tend not to complain. The Americans complain a lot, which is why you always want an American with you if something goes wrong. Right, service failure, that's the service level agreements. Service recovery is what you do to improve the situation at that point in time. This is the famous tip of the iceberg diagram. 50% of customers may not complain or do not complain. And if the complaint goes to a frontline employee, will that actually get up to senior management? Now, this is the funny one. If you satisfy them, they end up becoming pretty happy. So sort out the problem, and they actually start to become more loyal than they were before, if anything. I showed you this video already, the Dave Carroll one. Do you remember that? United Brakes Guitars?
Yes.
Right. Right, so this is the service recovery paradox. And I think one of you shared a paper on this a while ago. And the weird thing is, people are stupid. Even if you mess up, they end up becoming more loyal and more satisfied than they were before you messed up. And you think, well, that's completely irrational and illogical. How can that possibly be? And I think I told you the story about that company in Southampton or Bournemouth that kept ringing up new customers and telling them there was a mistake, and then miraculously they sorted it 3 hours later and sent out a driver to intercept the person that was already driving at 120 miles an hour up to Manchester with a 3-hour head start. So mathematically impossible. Yeah, so the interesting bit is the bottom right where it says stay. So despite the failure, the customer stays with you. And not only do they stay with you, but they may be more loyal than they were before. So if something goes wrong at the restaurant, I'm guessing you don't do this, Sandesh, but if you've got a young couple at a restaurant and something goes incredibly badly, you might knock a bit off the bill, you might come and apologise profusely, but if you give the lady a red rose costing a couple of ringgit or whatever, the end result is they're probably extremely satisfied, even though the guy could have bought his partner a red rose for a couple of ringgit, and in terms of the cost of the meal, it's probably irrelevant. So how you deal with it is very important, particularly in terms of word of mouth. Right, so you get different types of complainers. I'll skip through this. You don't. That's pretty obvious. Right, here's the bit about guarantee the service offering. But the question is, what are you guaranteeing? Sophia, when you go out for a meal with your boyfriend, what do you want from the evening?
From what?
When you go out for dinner with a friend, what is it you want?
To catch up with the friend.
Correct. Yeah.
And
Yeah, you want a pleasant experience and to catch up with a friend. You aren't going there to fill your belly. The primary objective of the evening is to have a nice time with a friend. If you were hungry, you could stay at home, open a can of baked beans and pour it on some toast, and that would be fine. You'll be full. Right. Did we go through this before or not? I don't think we did we?
no, I think.
Okay, right. So this is kind of relates to guarantees. It's about remedies, so it relates to guarantees. So the first thing is they want to be treated like another human being, adult to adult. They want you to bleed. They want the company to say, I'm really upset that you're upset. You know, I understand how you feel. They want an assurance that that won't happen again, which we all know is impossible because it's quite likely it's going to happen again. But you're going to do your best to make sure it doesn't. But you know, bad things happen. They want their problem solved, and even when it is solved, they still want to know why it happened. And the worst thing you can actually do to people is give them a scripted response. You know, just read off the card what you say to an angry customer. So these are all things that Sandesh and Sophie have come across in the past, I would guess. Is that right? Does this ring true?
Yes.
Is there anything that's not on the list, Sandesh? No? Right, so the one that you'd think would be most important was they want the problem fixed. But the reality is that's only 80% of the desired response. 93% is the subjective human quality of treating the customer as a person. If you get that right, even if you mess up the problem getting fixed, they might still forgive you. Right, and then we get to the money back guarantee or a free product or something like that. It's kind of not that important, you know, about 50%, 57, 44, 42. The interesting one, which I found a lot, is number 3, express my anger. So on programs where they teach you how to deal with difficult customers, the advice is always not to interrupt the customer, not to question him or her too much, and let them shout at you. I had one where I had to deal with a Scottish customer in Glasgow, and Glaswegians are a bit like New Yorkers. They swear a lot and they're very aggressive. And I had to fly either from London or Brussels, probably London, up to Glasgow to meet this customer. And the sales manager pleaded with me to come up. And I said, well, what's the problem? And he explained the problem, and it was like horrific. We basically, everything we'd said we were going to do, we had massively messed up. All he was trying to do was send something from Glasgow to Edinburgh, which was about 100 kilometres apart. And if you walked it, you could probably walk it in about 3 or 4 days. We took more than a week to deliver it. And for most of that time, it was lost. And I won't go into the reasons why we lost it. But, well, basically, there was fog and snow in Brussels. And the plane got stuck in the fog and the ice in Brussels. Trying to explain to the customer why a parcel that had to go from Glasgow to Edinburgh had to go something like 1,500 kilometres south to Brussels in order to come back up again to Edinburgh, he just didn't get. But I went up there and the sales manager said, what this guy is going to do is he's going to shout at you. I said, yeah, that's what I'm expecting. And we got into the guy's office and he said, "Are you the manager responsible for this fuck up?" And I said, "Yes." And he then proceeded to tell me what he thought of me, what he thought of my company, what he thought of the situation, and how furious and livid he was. And he shouted at me for about an hour and a half. And at the end, I said, "I'm extremely sorry. I feel your pain. This should never have happened. Obviously, we won't be charging you. And I really empathise with your situation." And he said, "That's nice. I'm really glad you've flown all the way up from London to apologise. I think the best thing we can do now is you take me out for an expensive meal." And I said, "Yeah, sounds fair to me." And we went out for an expensive meal, and he stayed an extremely loyal and very valuable customer. That's my cats having a fight behind me, don't panic. They stayed extremely loyal. So basically, I saved the day. And the way I saved it was for about an hour and a half, not saying anything. I just sat there and let him shout at me. And what the customers want is to be heard. So offering a money back guarantee is kind of missing the point. But it sounds good. And if all your competitors do it, Jolene, you probably better do it too, unless you've got an incredibly good reason for not doing it, like you're a Buddhist monk or something. Right, so the second point, for tangible products, a guarantee is often done in the form of a warranty. Okay, so that's probably a word that you might want to use. Write that down, warranty. But the first one, the guarantee is a pledge or assurance that the product or service offered by a firm will perform as promised. And if not, then some form of reparation will be undertaken. So that's kind of the definition of a guarantee. But as I've explained, we cannot guarantee that the sun will rise tomorrow. So if you delivering X, Y, Z depends on the sun rising, you've already got the 0.00000001 probability that it's not going to happen because the sun's exploded. Yeah, so that's the big question, bullet point 2. It's intangible. Now, what I've done in the past and what many of my colleagues have done is they have lots of restrictions and exclusions. Small print, like the Malaysian motor car insurance industry excludes floods, even though they're extremely normal. And the firm should guarantee elements of the service that are important to the customer, like floods. Usually, service guarantees have got lots of terms and conditions to limit your liability. So that's another word you want to write down, limit your liability. But if you make it too restrictive or too much legalese, you alienate the customers. Yeah, that's something about a guarantee. Right, now just spend a bit of time on this slide, then we'll take a break. But why you might not want to offer it, this is probably an important slide. Mark this with an asterisk. Why would you not use a guarantee? Well, if your existing service quality is pretty bad, you're just creating a hostage to fortune. It's not worth it. So don't pretend to be something you're not. If you're pretty close or almost there, then you could. Does it fit the company's image? Well, you see many shops, saying that the minute you buy it, that's it, there are no returns. So that kind of makes you a bit worried. A guarantee usually comes with a price premium. Service quality is truly uncontrollable. That could be the case in case of parts of the world that are undergoing famine, Tigray in Ethiopia, Palestine, Ukraine, Crimea border, anything like that. You might want to be very careful about guaranteeing anything, because you never know when the whole operation is going to get closed down. The Pepsi points, you need to make sure that you're not offering something like the Hoover flights to the USA or Pepsi points in the MiG fighter, where the customer just takes a loan of you. The cost of the guarantee, back to what I was asking Nusrat about, with how much is it going to cost to improve your production process to the point where you cut out 99.99% of all errors. You maybe could do it theoretically, but the amount of money you'd need to spend to get there, is more than a nuclear power station. It's just not practical. And the other one where you wouldn't use a guarantee is if the customers don't see any risk. Okay. Oh yeah, this slide is pretty important too. It's about service switching. So if you offer a guarantee and you have a service failure, what you really want is for a solution that ends up with the customer staying with you. Staying with you. Now, third box down on the right, ethical problems. Right, so Tasha, is ethics important?
Extremely.
Extremely.
Yep.
Everybody agree with that? You see Donald Trump just been investigated for keeping 2 sets of books?
I think in the sense of the workforce, it depends on the company you're working for. Like if you look at Tesco is very ethical as compared to maybe Giant in Malaysia is not as ethical with the stuff they do.
In what way? What do
in terms of how they deal with their vendors, maybe?
Yeah.
It may not have the same efficiency or the same ethical priorities that Tesco might have. If let's say Tesco is more environmentally friendly because they have a UK-based organization owning them, and then you have Giant, which is more local, and they may not be as aware, so their ethics are not the same.
Right. The chief buyer for Tesco used to be called Daisy Hyams. I never actually met her, but I met a lot of the other of the Tesco board, and they had a terrible reputation in the UK for being really evil with small suppliers and farmers. So they may well have changed. I don't know. I'm going back about 30 years. But once you get a bad reputation amongst suppliers for ethics or whatever, suppliers will talk to other suppliers. So it's just like customers, word of mouth. You get suppliers, word of mouth as well. And if I know that that Giant or whatever have given me a contract, but they're actually unreliable payers, screw me down to the floorboards, keep coming up with last minute impossible demands and all the rest of it, it's maybe one client I could do without. So ethics is important, and don't think I'm encouraging you to be bad, because I'm not. I definitely don't want to do that. But Donald Trump did pretty well. He got elected president of the United States, and he's worth a heck of a lot of money. And if you look at his practices, they're extremely unethical. Now that's an extreme. But there was one tour operator in the UK who had very low service standards, but brilliant advertising. And every year they lost something like some huge percentage, something like 20% of their customer base left because the service was so bad. So to compensate, they spent all their money on advertising to try and get new customers in. Write this term down: customer churn. So if your quality standards aren't that good, and the customer churn is high, you need to get lots of new customers in to replace the ones that have left. Now, the company I worked for was very expensive, had very high standards, and most people came back to us year after year after year. So we ended up not needing to spend quite so much on advertising because, and Jolene and Sandesh will remember this, cognitive dissonance. They all thought they'd made a good purchase last year, so they repeated it this year and just booked with Wings Holidays again. So I think the point with ethics, guarantees, service standards, all comes back to the question of the 7 Ps and product. What is the actual product quality? What quality standard or SLA are you going to offer to the customer? How confident are you can meet it? And what are you going to do when you mess up? And no matter what you do, you cannot get to 100%. So you do know that at some point you're going to be in front of an angry customer trying to justify your actions. So, and I think all of you will end up in that situation very soon in your working lives if you haven't already done so. Right, any questions on guarantees? Okay, right, so I guess what I've been describing is how you think critically through a problem. If you get a question in the exam you don't know anything about, don't go to the chapter in the textbook first, because all you'll end up doing then is panicking about, well, like some of those diagrams I showed you, sort of trying to redraw some complex multi-box diagram. If it was a question about guarantees, I would say, you know, the outcome you're looking for is the customer stays. Write this term down: share of wallet and customer lifetime value. You don't want the customer to leave, and you want him to repeat purchase. The opposite of that is he leaves or exits. So you've only got 2 main outcomes: disaster or possibly wonderful result, whereby you've messed up and the customer actually loves you even more than before you messed up. Right, any questions on that? Right, shall we take a break and then do the presentations?
Michael,
Yeah.
can we go first for the presentation, me and Afra?
Yep, as long as everybody else is happy with that. Yeah, Sophie is happy. Okay, yeah, all right.
Can we go second then?
Yeah, okay. So Nusrat, Sandesh, and
Moin.
Moen. Okay, I'm sure Moen's okay with that. You're letting the ladies go first, aren't you, Moen? Okay, so how long do you want? 15 minutes? A break time. Break, not for the presentation. How long?
5 minutes.
5 minutes, is that? Well, 5 minutes is fine for me.
Can we just have 10, because I hope I can get my prayers done by then.
My prayer is at 7:28, so I'll need only 5 minutes to pray.
What time's your prayer time, Moen?
We can all
Similar
have
to
a
us.
15-minute break.
Moen, when's your prayer time?
Similar to Asim's.
So 7:28.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, that's okay. It's about 15:15 now, isn't it? So 15 minutes. Is that right? Oh no, you need to go and pray at 7:28. Is that it?
Yeah.
Oh fuck. Oh, okay.
Well, what we can do one thing, Sophia and the rest could get their presentation done.
No, I'm not happy with that. You all need to see each other's. How long do you need for prayers? 15 minutes?
No.
5 minutes.
Just 5 minutes.
Oh, 5 minutes. Okay. So come back at. So this is about a 22-minute break. Come back at 25:02. Is that okay with everybody?
Okay.
25:02. Okay. See you then. You can stop recording for a bit if you want, Sophia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So see you at 25:08, and we're kicking off with Nusrat and
Okay.
Afra.